Starting that now. You all might just have to click a little accept button on your screen. I appreciate everyone being here today. The recording to this webinar will be available on the Early Learner South Dakota YouTube page. So if you miss anything, please don't worry about that. We will have it available usually within, the first 24 hours or so, we'll get it up on YouTube. I'll also be putting my contact information into the chat. So if you guys have any follow-up information, you sure can. And then our presenters are welcome to put their information in the chat as well. And so if you have any follow-up questions for them individually, you are more than welcome to reach out. So with that, my name is Kayla Klein. I am the Director of Early Learner South Dakota. We started these webinars a few months back now. We've been doing them for several months with part of our business collaborative through the childcare. We've been working with a lot of course, folks in the early childhood field, but also within economic development, chambers, businesses, folks who are supporting childcare providers across the state. And we're trying to just bring and highlight as many resources that we already have in South Dakota. And the enrichment centers are an amazing example of that. And there's been a lot of things that have been developing in the enrichment centers across South Dakota over the last year. And so we're really excited that we have representation from all of them here today. So thank you very much. And with that, I am going to, one thing I'd like to just note, I may mute you if you accidentally come off mute, but if we could, keep yourselves on mute during the webinar. And if you come off of mute, it will indicate to me that you have a question. We're open to having questions asked. You can come off, unmute yourselves and just ask the question, or please feel free to put your questions in the chat as well. And I'll make sure to monitor the chat and see if there's any questions that we need to highlight along the way to any of our presenters. If you could also all just take a brief minute and put your name and where you work in your community in the chat as well, that would be great. Then that way we can understand a little bit more about who our audience is today. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Rachel Bussman, who will be facilitating the conversation today. Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks, Kayla, and welcome everyone. We really want to thank Early Learners South Dakota for this opportunity today. We're grateful to have the time together to provide an overview of the South Dakota Early Childhood Enrichment System and highlight some key opportunities for education, credentialing, and resources that we have available for early childhood and school age educators. So thanks for being here today. We're also going to learn a little bit about the Quality Care South Dakota initiative designed to support programs in their continuous quality improvement journey. So we're going to learn about that today as well and talk a little bit about that. But first off, let's take a few minutes to introduce our panel of speakers today. Joe, do you want to kick us off with an intro?
Sure. My name is Joe Doyle. I'm the Assistant Director of Early Childhood Connections out here in Rapid City, South Dakota. So I'm the Region 1 ECE office servicing the 13 counties of Western South Dakota.
Brittany, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm Brittany Westergren. I am the ECE coordinator for Region 2, which is the 12 central counties here in South Dakota.
Hi, I'm April Fleming with Region 4 Child and Family Resource Network as Assistant Outreach Coordinator for the 13 counties in Northeast South Dakota.
Nikki, would you mind to go next?
Yeah. I'm Nikki McLaughlin. I am out of Region 5 ECE Enrichment Program and Region 3 as well too. So we oversee both Region 5 and 3. I'm the Community Programs Coordinator here for Region 5 and 3.
Which is Aberdeen and Sioux Falls area, right? Yes. Awesome. And Nicole.
Hi there, I'm Nicole Lanning. I work with the Quality Care South Dakota initiative, and my main role is with the Pathways program, which I will talk about later.
Thank you. My name is Rachel Bussman. I'm Outreach Coordinator with the Child and Family Resource Network at South Dakota State University. And my role is a lead project coordinator with the Quality Care Initiative for South Dakota.
All right, well, I can get things started then. So as you can read on your screen, the Early Childhood Enrichment, we believe that every child in South Dakota deserves a safe and responsive care. Every adult who impacts children should have the necessary resources, training, and supports to provide exceptional care in enriching environments. So just going off of that, in the late 1990s, the Department of Social Services, Child Care Services established the Early Childhood Enrichment System to growing demand for early childhood and school age training, and to help recruit and retain quality childcare providers and school age programs and educators, as well as to encourage and support programs quality across the state of South Dakota. South Dakota ECE programs offer a systematic approach to providing early childhood and school age education services and technical assistance, which you'll hear a lot throughout this presentation. Services are available to all childcare and school age childcare providers, parents, and others involved in the day-to-day care of children and youth. So the early childhood enrichment offices across the state deliver a variety of services focused on parents, family childcare providers, childcare center and staff, youth development professionals, and other early childhood professionals as well too. And then as seen on the slide before, our mission is to support children in the state of South Dakota. So moving on, you'll see the different regions, all of us obviously represented here today. The Early Childhood Enrichment Program is structured into the 5 different regions. Each are representing a specific segment of the state, which we have in the cool little puzzle pieces that you'll see there. Together, our regions work collaboratively to achieve shared objectives in enhancing the quality of early childhood and school-age care within the state. So as I mentioned before, our prior mission is to support children and childcare providers in South Dakota. So in doing so, our 5 regions provide a range of training programs designed specifically to support early childhood and school age program educators at both their professional and personal levels. So meeting them where they're at within their professional career. So you'll see there that we do in-person trainings. The in-person trainings just allows for more direct interaction with our early childhood specialists that help educate while facilitating discussions and insights that may be difficult to do in a virtual setting. We train on a variety of trending topics from could be environmental classroom setups, learning how to work through challenging behaviors, to developmentally appropriate activities to facilitate in their classroom. And these trainings often encourage greater focus and engagement, minimizing distractions and promoting a more captivating learning experience to the providers. We also offer online options as well too. So offering online options just helps our providers a lot, in our rural providers, to access trainings and opportunities that might otherwise be unavailable to them. So these online trainings enable providers to connect with peers from different regions, fostering collaboration amongst that, and then sharing different ideas with each other. With a live instructor from South Dakota ECE system, who is familiar with the regulations and systems and can help facilitate those types of conversations and trainings, and just rich an opportunity for all the learners that are available. And then we also offer on-demand options. This is very nice for directors and things like that to be able to give that instant training to people who may not have the option to catch the online class or the in-person. So these classes are just another opportunity offered by SDEC system. Providers have the option of on-demand trainings, which are pre-recorded trainings that they have access to. So these allow for providers to progress through materials at their own pace, taking the time needed to fully understand the content and absorb that content as well too. The on-demand trainings also ensure that all providers are receiving the same content, and it promotes consistency of the quality of training as well too to the different diverse locations. And then just a couple, so the ECE system is established you'll see on there the South Dakota Child Care Director 360 program specifically for new directors. It offers structured support throughout the duration of their first year in the position. We work we work side by side with the directors along with their state licensing specialists to ensure resources and supports are provided for the success of the program and the director. The main goal of the 360 program that you'll see there is to give new directors a one-stop resource for information, along with the goal of embedding coaching as well too. And then we've seen great success throughout South Dakota specific initiatives. So another resource to highlight from the SDEC system is the offering of strengthening business practice training for directors and family child care providers. So this training, it focuses on strengthening foundational knowledge of sound fiscal. So fiscal management and business operations, it focuses on feasibility and sustainability of administrative and fiscal practices. It's just crucial for programs who we serve and run a tight profit margin. A recent family childcare provider that actually took the strengthening business practice training stated that she wishes she would have had this type of training 30 years ago when opening her center, and it walked her through numerous resources, ideas, and strategies for the business improvement. So yeah, so with that, I will leave it to April.
Yes, thanks, Nikki. As Nikki mentioned, we provide on-demand training for childcare and school-age professionals working in registered and licensed childcare or school-age care settings. And this training typically begins when they enter the workforce and are required to complete their orientation training within 90 days of hire. And so the South Dakota Orientation to Childcare is offered to meet the Child Care Development Block Grant reauthorization of 2014. And in that federal act, it requires educators caring for children to have 13 training topics completed. And these range from medication administration, safe sleep, supervision, and CPR training. And so the South Dakota EC system offers this on-demand training to support new professionals, as well as ongoing health and safety training. So most recently, the EC system launched updated content for our health and safety level 2 training, which reflects the most recent rule changes with the DSS Office of Licensing and Accreditation. We're planning to launch level 3 health and safety training in 2026, which supports educators that remain in the workforce for over 10 years as a reminder of the federal mandated training topics. And lastly, I would like to highlight that in 2023, we launched over 90 hours of on-demand focused training to support infant and toddler educators, preschool educators, family childcare educators, school-age educators, and leaders. And these trainings provide developmentally appropriate practices, curriculum ideas, resources, program management, and much more. And so those courses are on demand and they allow for our ever-changing workforce to access that professional development after they've completed that orientation. And it helps to provide that baseline understanding to support their role in caring for South Dakota's young children. If providers and directors who are on today's call and you're interested in learning more, I encourage you to please reach out to your local ECE office. If possible, if even scanning the QR code on the flyer on the screen, or please feel free to pop your email address in the chat feature.
Thanks, April. One of those orientation topics that she touched on was health and safety training. And so we do have a list online of on-demand health and safety trainings, but we also do quite a few live classes on health and safety. And we get these classes, we get providers referred to us based on, a licensing worker might come in and say, hey, why don't you take some training on that? Or they'll self-refer, we want to be better in this category and have an improvement goal in health and safety. And so health and safety could be anything from biting in an infant toddler room, safe sleep practices. That's always a big one. We do a lot of emergency planning, fit care, which is a series of training based on moving around in the classroom, mood and behavior management, food, and recharging, which includes self-care for those providers. First aid and CPR, though, is probably the biggest health and safety category that we do. And so the ECE system trained over 1,800 people in CPR into 2024. And then, so that's required for all new childcare providers coming in, and then every 2 years after that. And then our efforts to keep specialists and trainers and workforce childcare. Oh man, I just stuttered all over that sentence. These efforts keep our specialists and trainers very busy, supporting childcare workforce of over 6,000 individuals. And so they're all coming through for a variety of trainings and coaching and technical assistance. So outside of just the classroom, our providers and specialists will go into each provider's center or daycare classroom and provide coaching and technical assistance on site. And so this could include hands-on, it could include brainstorming or just looking at an environment. We offer a variety of assessment tools and observation tools that we can come in and share results and make a plan for how to improve the quality in that room. And this includes all ages. You know, we have infant toddler specialists, preschool specialists, and out of school time care. And so any age classroom, we have someone that can help. A big one lately is the social development and emotional development. And so we'll get providers calling and saying, hey, we have this child in our classroom. They use this difficult behavior. We're just at a loss and we're not sure what to do. And so within our system, we have specialists in social development and emotional development that can go in and work with that teacher on some tips and tricks with working with this child. They'll do an observation. And then in some of those extreme cases, we have partners, community partners that we can refer the child and family to get assistance with that behavior. So a really neat program that we've partnered with the state to provide. So if you see that in the community, reach out to us. We have specialists for that, and we'd be more than happy to help.
Hey,
Some of
Joe.
the categories when we do, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, one question on the CPR first aid. I hope I didn't miss it. I've had a lot of providers ask about the CPR first aid. Is that something that the enrichment centers offer for free?
Oh, good question, Kayla. So usually we have to charge for those classes because we're all credentialed through American Red Cross or American Heart. But the state, DSS, is paying for those right now. So they have a scholarship available to any licensed or registered childcare provider. So they can come in and take the CPR training and get it for free. The state will pay for it. Those classes are also open, at least in Region 1's case. I can't say necessarily for everyone. It looks like nods. They're open to the community too. And so if someone else not in childcare wanted to take CPR through us, they can do that, but there would probably, I know in Region 1 is $35. So an affordable fee for CPR and first aid training.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, good question. And then we were going to look at some categories. You know, this slide is an example of some of the categories that we might go in and look at when we're providing coaching and TA. And so if a program self-refers to us and says, we want to increase the quality of our playground, or maybe they're concerned about safety issues on the playground, we can help break that down into some smaller action steps. We call that technical assistance and coaching. We will go in and say, hey, let's start here. Let's set a goal to improve there. And then when you meet that goal, let's set another goal. And so sometimes they want us in there. We have some programs that we go see every week on setting goals and improving quality. And then some other programs, they'll call us, say, will you come take a quick look? And we'll give them some ideas and they send them on their way. So it's up to the program. All of that coaching and technical assistance we do free of charge. So if they're looking to improve, give us a call. We're happy to come out and help. Well, I have a bit more here. In 2024, we supported 163 childcare and school age programs, and that's over 1,100 hours of technical assistance and coaching. So just to show you how busy they keep us.
Thanks, Joe. Brittany, would you like to go over the early learning guidelines?
Yes, sorry, I was having trouble with my mute button. Our South Dakota Early Learning Guidelines are designed to provide a framework for fostering high-quality early learning experiences that support the growth and development of young children. They are a resource used to define skills and abilities that support the learning experiences provided for children infancy to 5 years of age. These guidelines are meant to assist childcare providers, educators, and other care providers who work with young children, ensuring that they have tools and strategies to create enriching learning environments. These guidelines align with best practices in early childhood education. They cover various domains of development, including physical, cognitive, social, emotional, and language growth. And these guidelines emphasize the importance of high-quality early learning experiences. By aligning early childhood practices with these guidelines, providers can ensure that children are developing the skills and competencies needed for a smooth transition into kindergarten. The South Dakota ECE system offers on-demand training on the early learning guidelines, as April previously mentioned. With that training, educators receive a copy of the early learning guidelines. Our system also offers a variety of trainings that have these guidelines embedded and supported throughout our classes. This one is our CDA program, which is a credentialing program designed to enhance the skills, knowledge, and professionalism of early childhood educators across the state. This program aims to support early childhood educators in meeting national standards for quality care and education for young children. It ensures that educators have the tools to foster healthy development and learning for children during these critical early years. This program includes professional development opportunities, mentoring, and guidance to help candidates complete CDA credentialing process. The CDA training modules focus on areas such as nurturing environments, fostering child development, and building strong relationships with families. CDA is available to all individuals working with young children in South Dakota, and currently the Department of Social Services is offering scholarships to cover the cost for those who are working in registered and licensed centers. Many CDA participants often include childcare providers, preschool teachers, and Head Start staff. These classes, I believe in each region, are offered once a week in the evenings after the childcare providers are off. CDA helps educators gain nationally recognized credentials that improve their career opportunities and earning potential. This credential enhances the knowledge and skills of the educator, which in turn will support the quality of our early childhood programs. The CDA program creates an opportunity for professionals who may already be in the workforce to gain skills and competencies. The CDA elevates the care of children and allows for the individual to meet director qualifications. CDA graduates committed to lifelong learning, and they can consider articulating the credential into college credits at many South Dakota colleges. In 2024, the ECE system offered 530 hours of CDA training to 166 educators. DSS and the ECE system have cleared a path to support professionals in their journey as educators for young children. If you're interested in CDA and are currently working in a childcare setting, please reach out to your local ECE region for more information.
Thank you, coordinators, for that overview. There was a request to talk about, we talked about registered and licensed, and I think just to set the stage, our funding comes under that Child Care Development Block Grant, which really sets the stage of the mandated regulations for unregulated and licensed programs. But our classes are open and many of our classes are free. And so if you are an unregulated provider listening today, all of these opportunities are available because there is no cost, but our target audience, because of the funding and how we're set up, is to meet the needs for registered and licensed providers. Many of them have annual training requirements that they need to complete to keep that license and registration up. And so that is kind of systematically how we're structured, but all opportunities are open for them to participate in and join us as we learn. Some highlights from 2024 for the EC system. The system served over 454 programs, providers included in that, which includes over 2,190 educators. So that's a huge amount of our workforce. And through the 2024 year, that included 485 trainings for a total of 779 hours of professional development. So these are huge numbers and a deep impact to our state and those that care for our youngest citizens. So Thank you to the system for what they've provided in the past, and a link is going to go into the chat regarding our 2025 professional development offerings and what is coming up next. So we're going to take a minute to transition and talk a little bit about the Curious pilot, and then we'll come back and talk about the EC system a little bit more at the end. So on behalf of the Quality Recognition and Information System pilot, I'm here today to share a little bit of information. As you can see here, the individuals and professionals listed were part of an RFP that was available from the Department of Social Services in 2022. And the team applied for providing this opportunity to South Dakota in learning. And so we're going to kind of unpack what opportunity was. But you can see the team here also listed, as well as some graduate students and our consultant. We were able to consult with an individual that had experience developing a system in a similar state. And so that experience was able to help us guide and navigate unknown challenges. With this RFP, the assignment was, how do we build quality from the health and safety regulations set forth by Department of Social Services? And through that process, rules changed in 2023 and things shifted. But the goal remains the same. What does quality look like? And how do we celebrate milestones and accomplishments of quality in our state? And what kind of resources and supports are needed? And so through this opportunity, our hypothesis was created with coaching, observations, incentive dollars, goal setting in classrooms, and professional development. Are we able to support quality movement forward? And our foundation for this was our environmental rating scales. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what that tool provides. And in a stage setting, the Early Childhood Enrichment System had spent at least 3 years learning about the ERS tools, if not longer. They've been around for a long time, but intentionally getting trained inter-rater reliable trainers and observers in our system, because this was a tool that could be of importance looking at so many factors, and we're going to go over that today. So the research component of this looked at 50 childcare and school-age programs across the state. This did include registered family childcare homes and licensed school-age programs. We completed pre and post observations to look at what's currently happening in settings. And in the treatment components of this research, we looked at adding those components: coaching, goal setting, both goal setting with director leadership as well as classroom supports, incentives, and then really targeted professional development about increasing quality in the areas that the classroom educator was looking to improve. So our timeline was pretty quick. We had 2 years to complete a quick turnaround. And so we had 6 months of planning, which really included finessing frameworks that were included in the RFP for this effort, and really looking at what could those look like and what were something tangible to get to support in the 18 months that we had for this. So recruitment started in February of 2023, and all of our observations were completed by August of 2024. Of course, this opportunity was in part with the Office of Licensing and Accreditation. In order to participate, this was a voluntary process, but programs needed to remain in good standing with the Department of Social Services. Didn't mean that they couldn't be on a corrective action plan or have had a non-compliance or a complaint recently. That was definitely welcomed in this. We wanted to learn from programs as well, as programs that maybe have a really awesome system of quality happening and supports to their program and the children they serve. In addition, the South Dakota EC system was foundational in the partnership that they provided for this pilot to even happen. Where they supported countless hours of observation, technical assistance at times, and support to gain data about what's currently happening and what does support look like moving forward. So here's a quick overview or timeline of the different steps that we took. So we started with recruitment of childcare centers in February, followed by group family homes. Childcare centers, it depends on the capacity that they can service depending on how much square footage they have. Our group family homes care for up to 20 children. And then our family childcare homes, those are registered family childcare homes and can care for up to 12 children. And then school age programs are a little bit like childcare centers. Their capacity is built on the square footage that they have available to the children that they serve. And so those categories of care each had a specific framework to follow. So family childcare homes look very different than a school age program. And so the frameworks gave nod to each other. They're very similar, but they follow that category of care and what's asked of that category. So a family childcare home typically does not have a ton of staff. And so some of the staffing requirements that you're going to see in a childcare center framework are going to be completely different for the family childcare one. As we follow this, there were pre-assessments completed, which was just what's a pre-impact observation, what's currently happening in that setting. And then surveys to parents, providers, and then post observations, as well as parent interviews, and then post observations for our final programs. One thing I want to note here is the small turnaround time with school age programs, right? Hindsight's always 20/20, but we got ready to do school age programs and it was summer, and summer school age programs look very different than academic year school age programs. So we did pause on that, and so that we could really provide that snapshot of the school age year, school age care year, and be able to have that pre-post analysis for that opportunity. So I mentioned early our environmental rating scales. So this is a very common tool used nationally in at least 36 states, if not more. And really the environmental rating scales provide a data-rich approach to reflect upon practices and daily routines that are happening in childcare settings. They really dive deep into aspects of the environment, but also touch on transitions, interactions, and quality measures beyond those minimum state like regulations. And help us to define what is this, what is quality, and what are we asking for supports, and how do we lift up needs in our state. All programs participating meet licensing standards, and this observation tool was to provide a framework for that growing quality, be able to reflect on data and where are the strengths in a program and in a provider's home, and where are their next steps, where do they see their opportunities. So with this data, creating intention and goal setting in our early childhood and school age programs was pivotal. So these observations, they last about 3 hours in length, typically in the morning, except for our school age programs are usually after school. And we wanted to see a regular day. We also know that every day is different. You're working with children, you're working with a lot of components. And so this is just a snapshot in time. And really we talk with the programs that participated about where do they see the opportunities and where do they see the next steps with this information. But again, from interactions to accessibility of toys and materials to their daily routine and how their spaces are being used and how child-centered they are is what this tool is looking at. So here's just a little screenshot. The Eckers is our preschool tool. So that's what we look at classrooms that are serving 3 to 5-year-olds. And so in the different categories, it goes a little more in depth into the indicators of what we're looking for quality. And each indicator has different items. And so again, this tool allows programs to pick where their mission is. And if they are a literacy strong program, they can lean into those literacy areas and look at opportunities to how to improve quality in those areas. So in the pilot, we observed all classrooms and they all received a pre-observation. That allowed us to have some coaching data to be able to share with them strengths and the opportunities that they had. We did a sampling for those post-observations, and then we used various tools that were available. So the most updated versions, which is the infant and toddler environmental rating scale, that's looking at the infant and toddler spaces up to age 3. And then I mentioned the Eckers, which is our preschool classrooms, and that's really looking at the 3 to 5-year-olds. And then our family childcare home, that is really observing children in that setting, specifically made for that setting, which is birth to 12 years of age. And then our SAKERS, which is our school age environmental rating scale, we adapted a little bit to a South Dakota version because there were some things that were deemed irrelevant because the tool is going to be renewed in 2026. And there were just some items that were a little above and beyond, and because it's been a little outdated, we felt were irrelevant. So instead of 41 items in that tool, we scored 28 items. But the observations took place when most children were present, not during the arrival or departure. and we could collect data to reflect upon. So at the start of the pilot, the participants that were in our treatment group for services and our hypothesis received a framework based on the category of care. So family child care got one, child care center got another, and school age programs got one for their license category. So all participants started at 0 because that's what we built upon as licensing standards. And so they had the opportunity to look at the framework and submit sources of evidence to help meet the level on the frameworks and show forward movement and celebrating those accomplishments. So this is built on a block approach, a building block approach. So after completing level 1, then level 2 is available. And the framework really focuses on practicing habits in the categories of health and safety, learning environments, activities and experiences, relationships and interaction, that program management, that policy piece, as well as workforce development and supports. So you're going to see that build of subsequent levels over the course of the frameworks. So diving just a little bit deeper, what does this look like? So health and safety would be beyond the licensing request. It could, or it is, how are you handling illness and injury tracking? What does your space and health and safety checklist look like? How often are you doing them? How often are individuals walking around the outside play area and checking for safety items? Learning environments is that space and materials. How are we setting up learning environments to be engaging spaces for children? Activities and experiences, really look at that activity planning. What kind of interest areas are happening there? What kind of observations are being supported so that activities are planned to the interest of the children? Relationships and interactions really focus on those language, book literacy, inclusive accommodations, and the interactions that not only peer-to-peer are having, but the provider and educators are having with the children. Our program management, I mentioned policy, but also performance evaluation, developing plans, that goal setting for the overall performance of the program. And then workforce development, guiding our workforce to get age-specific training to reach those goals of CDA if they have those, to get involved in our Pathways career ladder so that the state has more data on making decisions and gathering information. Our workforce focus also is about how do we support our leaders in understanding more about creating their North Star, right? If we don't have in mind what and can't articulate what quality is, then it's hard to keep working towards it and it's hard to keep celebrating those successes. And so the ERS, or the environmental rating scales, can provide that data information to keep creating that articulation with board, parents, community members, and the like. Other components of the framework that I'm going to dive a little bit deeper in is that workforce development. So knowing the novice nature of the workforce, we know that there's an opportunity to support training. And that's where the system, the Early Childhood Enrichment System, pivoted in 2023, offering age-specific training opportunities on demand. They had previously been offered for years, but it was at night. We got, it was challenging to go on a class at 7:30 at night till 9:30 at night. And so having these on demand allowed for opportunities after that orientation to really get age-specific training to best meet the needs of children in our care or in their care. And so you'll see that component, as well as the trainings for leadership was a key component of the framework. We also know, and I can speak from experience, right? A coach is only so supportive. It has to come from within and an internal drive. And so self-assessment tools are deeply woven into the frameworks because as we make those decisions for ourselves versus someone coming in and say, hey, you have a great opportunity here, it hits differently. And so self-assessment tools are a key component of quality-driven metrics. And so you see the areas there that tools were created and provided to those that participated in the pilot. Additionally, the program administration scale and the business administration scale were foundational components for the pilot. We know the feasibility and sustainability of programs rest on our administrative practices. And so gaining information from directors and family home providers about where their opportunities were led to some of the decisions that Nicole's going to visit more about, that we needed a resource hub and we needed opportunities for them to get more rich information and rich information regarding business practices. A key component of the pilot was this continuous quality improvement cycle. We live in an ever-changing world, and childcare is the same. You can have it down 1 minute and the next day it's a whole group of new kids, or you have a new friend could join your group and things change. And so from circle time to how departure time looks to how are we doing staff orientation, I think as a professional, this is a constant thing to be looking at. And so this is deeply embedded in how we approached the quality recognition information system pilot. We were working with opportunities and data-rich feedback, and did individuals see an opportunity to create a goal around that? And if so, how did that goal work? How did those metrics happen when they saw it in practice, and did it meet what they needed? And so this CQI process was evident through the processes with the coaches, as well as our coaches support system. So we did a community of practice with all of the coaches and early childhood educators. And through those 14 times, we talked about topics, because it's hard being a coach as well as hard being in the field some days. And so how can we support strategies that address the barriers for quality programming and really help coaching effectiveness? And so in those CQI conversations, it led to transparency for us and really addressing challenges that were raised in the field. But this is just a key component of how we look at this process and how we keep evaluating the information and the data that comes forward, because it's ever changing and it requires re-examination over time of how are we setting that goal, how is that going, and making adjustments towards that. So this is really, if you think about it, it's like a SMART goal. So many of these goals were established with each classroom teacher and the directors monthly, and an annual goal. And so it's creating that SMART goal with actionable steps, as Joe said, a lot like our technical assistance process, right? Breaking down, how do we get to that? And how can we support not only classroom level change, but overall program level change? Learners was a key component and played a major role in the pilot. All directors and lead staff and family home providers were given an account to this training portal. And so learners is something new for us in our state. And what this did is, if I chose as a director the math component as an area to improve upon based off the data that I received, then I could go in and take a 2-hour course specific about that. And the key here is that you can look at the tool and say, oh, okay, the reading area, I need 15 books, check. I need this, check. But it's more than that. It's the magical interactions, not magical, it's intentional interactions that are happening with staff, right? That make that literacy come alive in the classroom. And those components woven into this professional development really created a lot of opportunities. We saw individuals then complete that module between the coaching sessions with their coach. And so they were able to go in and make goals, SMART goals in that portal, and the coaches were able to reflect upon those accomplishments, celebrate the success, and it really kept that coach alive between visits, kept them engaged in what was happening, and generated discussions for that next coaching visit. And so learners, a couple examples of how learners was used. We had a director at a childcare center that took the health and safety practices. And based off of that training, she got all of the cleaning and sanitizing supplies together, put all the correct procedures on the cart, and really made huge changes on how they handled cleanup with health and safety and sanitizing. A family home provider took the displays of children, and based off of going through this module, decided that she laminated family pictures and she put them low on a door, attached them with Velcro so the children could carry them around. So getting those embedded, really rich components based off of where they've set their goal was a key component. So it kind of felt like having a second coach by having learners, and they were really able to join in and participate through that portal. And as you can see, 341 modules were completed by educators across the state with that goal setting. And it really was just another way to enhance the support to programs and providers. So I mentioned previously that in the pilot, we had a treatment group participants work with the coach. And here's just a couple pictures of a coach, and then a couple pictures of a before and after. Here's one of a science center and a reading center. And again, the combination of the coach setting goals getting resources and suggestions, and also taking the learners module, we were able to see big changes in certain interest areas or wherever they set their goals. So that one-on-one support, along with the connection of resources, identifying where they had opportunities, and really being able to connect our 2 full-time coaches, and then we had a part-time school-age coach. We were able to support coaching 677 hours of one-on-one coaching with participants, from directors to classroom level staff. And we know that those high levels of staffing is not best practice, but within the 18 months that we had for coaching, we were on the ground as much as we could. So we did have opportunities for grants that were aligned with the goals that they set in their monthly coaching sessions. So they would set goals based on the data that they received from the observation. And in that, they would purchase items to improve the quality in their childcare programs. And so you can see here, a large majority of the items were purchased for indoor use. This included bookshelves, tables, beanbags, soft seating, chairs, as well as free play and interest items. This did include puzzles, toys, costumes for dramatic play. So all of the things there. As well as teacher materials, electronics for taking classes, organizational tools, as well as outdoor equipment and activities. Lastly, we had some 18 purchases for health and safety items, sleep sacks, bibs, things that they needed to maintain safety. Overall, the purchases showed a variety of needs from the programs, and participants committed to the quality of the learning experience for children. Really eased providers' responsibility. The purchases were investments, and they felt like they were benefiting all children that joined their program. So that was an awesome thing to see. So we're going to transition to a little bit of the results from the pilot. So 40 infant toddler classrooms received an ITERS. And just based on time today, we're going to talk about the highest area of growth was seen in the activities subscale. And activities is really those art, music, fine motor, blocks, how is dramatic play set up, those opportunities that our young children have in the spaces. And so really awesome to see that impact to the spaces that our infants and toddlers are playing in and spending their days in. In our preschool settings, we had 33 preschool classrooms that received that observation we were able to collect data on. And through that, we saw the highest area of growth is in interactions. So really capitalizing on the opportunities that we have, from peer-to-peer interaction to appropriate discipline to individualized teaching, and those interactions, those intentional moments, right? Those engagements made a huge impact in the pilot and growth for our preschool classrooms. In our family childcare homes, we had 17 receive the family childcare observation, and our highest area of growth was in our language and books. And so seeing that opportunity of language improvement from just the use of books, the amount of books available, encouraging children to use the books, and then just responding through children's communication and talking with them about what's happening with the books was a huge increase for improvement for our family childcare homes, and something to definitely celebrate. In our school age care settings, the environmental rating scale for school age, we had 27 classrooms that received an observation. The highest area of growth was seen in health and safety. And so that was practices of safety, washing hands, washing tables, snack preparation, personal hygiene. So summary of the findings, our treatment group significantly had improvements on more ERS subscales than our control groups did. And so we had a various amount of subscales that had statistically significant changes, but many of them had improvements that just weren't statistically enough to say that they were an improvement, but these listed here were statistically improved. And factors outside of our control, I think, that come into play with this is that there were gains, plausible that these gains were due to coaching, larger financial incentives, learning about the QRS framework, access to learners, and professional development. But we know that there's confounding variables in research that have influenced scores, right? For example, we weren't able to control the staff turnover rates in programs or the timing of the post-assessment observations, specifically for school age being the last week of school. So some of those things impact, right? And are compounding variables here. But multiple areas assessed by the ERS, we recognize that participants may not have had opportunities beyond this or before this to see this information. And so the pre and post observation data allowed for a new amount of knowledge and information gained. And so through those 8 to 12 months, we were able to support programs in increasing quality. It should be noted that not one strategy can fully explain increased quality. That was evident in the pilot, right? As mentioned before, each treatment, individual coaching, the feedback from observations, grants, learners indicated positive changes in quality. But it's a combination of strategies that provided systematic change and allowing changes to be systematic over time. I have a little video here. So we're gonna watch this video and then transition into talking about forward opportunities. Can you hear it okay?
What entails quality childcare? It can mean different things to different people, but surprisingly, What entails quality childcare? It can mean different things to different people, but surprisingly, guidance is limited on how to improve quality in childcare and school-age care settings. Researchers from South Dakota State University's College of Education and Human Sciences and the School of Education, Counseling, and Human Development are working to change that. Over the past year, they have been conducting a pilot project in conjunction with the South Dakota Department of Social Services that is working to inform future quality enhancements for childcare in the state of South Dakota.
That includes registered family home settings, childcare centers, group family homes, and then our school age programs that are licensed with the Department of Social Services.
Bringing in the SDSU group, they gave us ideas that we just wouldn't have thought of on our own. We always had a table there, or we always did curriculum like this, but they came in and they gave us suggestions of layout or even how to interact with our kids, and it was amazing. We just immediately saw changes with the kids.
The opportunity allowed for us to understand and collect data about what's currently happening in South Dakota when it comes to quality care. Then from that information, how do we make supports and resources to support and enhance what quality looks like and how to support programs in their journey to enhancing quality.
This program, it brings so much awareness to all the different aspects of childcare that there's more to it than keeping the kids safe and fed. It really brought out all the different ways that you can help a child thrive in order for them to go out into the world.
It's integral for children to be able to have that foundation, that base, to build the success of their entire educational career.
We had a provider that had been in the field for 28 years that says, I've never felt more supported and have more understanding of where my opportunities are.
Coaching not only helped professionally, but personally. Often in the child care provider life, we don't have coworkers that are with us 8 hours or 10 hours a day. And so sometimes there's parts of the business that, you're unsure of, but somebody that kind of comes in here and is familiar with the different aspects of childcare and just given me more confidence in recognizing that childcare is a profession.
I think that is another thing that it did, is it reminded teachers that early childhood education deserves to get that moment.
The coaching really brought to light the things that truly are happening day to day. And that let us step back and be like, what can we do to be better? So it isn't just the teachers in a classroom, it's also us as administrators. How can we support those rooms to make sure that we are doing the best possible?
Through those relationships and enhancements through the pilot, we saw refined child-centered environments, increased intentionality with learning activities, elevated interactions, and stronger program administration.
Without the coaching, a lot of the issues that were brought to light, no matter how simple or challenging they maybe were or are, without having that brought to us, we would never have known.
Making data-driven decisions on how that program best sees their ability to support children and families. And so connecting quality dollars to that with goal-driven decisions, I think was just a really cool component of this opportunity. And I'm just honored to walk beside our community champions.
I think that the potential of this pilot to educate and bring knowledge to the general public is going to be the greatest aha.
This sets the stage for potential supports and conversations and growth in this area to really lift up efforts for our youngest citizens of South Dakota.
So from that, as in conclusion, we had a total of 46 programs complete the pilot participation, and that included for-profit, nonprofit centers, before and after school programs, childcare homes that voluntarily chose to be registered with Department of Social Services. And through that, we did 211 different environmental rating scales to provide data and feedback to program classrooms and leaders. And through the treatment group participants with those 3 quality frameworks, family childcare home, childcare center, and school age programs, we saw support from that professional coach combined with grants for the barriers that they had played a pivotal role or vital role in providing movement and improvement indicators on that quality tool. A total of 9 programs achieved the level 1 or higher, with 1 program completing a level 4 during the pilot process. So what's next? We are launching what's called Quality Care South Dakota. We're super excited to be supporting this initiative. I think Nicole's going to pop this website in the chat, and we'll talk a little bit about what we learned from the pilot and what adjustments are happening. So in the pilot, we did an ERS observation as that pre-impact metric to see where programs were at. But that's a costly investment because you're going out before there's investment from the program. And so with this, we're going to delay the ERS observation until level 2. The reason for that being is that in the pilot, sometimes there was one classroom teacher there than when we did the observation, and in 2 months later, there might have been a different person. And so we want that buy-in from the program before we're investing this observation and all this feedback. It can be a lot to look at your strengths and your opportunities. And so we're going to have more onboarding for the leadership and creating leadership teams within childcare centers and school age programs to really look at their continuous quality improvement processes and come up with a team that's going to best support their needs. We're also adding score-based thresholds at the highest level of frameworks. So we'll be looking at how do we help support programs with the data feedback that they're getting from the scales and accomplish those scores. Alignment with grant opportunities that support program participation, but also put a specific focus on our infant toddler classrooms. We know that we have some opportunities in our infant toddler rooms in our classrooms to really support some quality improvements in those spaces. And with the reauthorization in 2014, more focus for spending at the state level is focused on infants and toddlers. So how do we create some of that funding opportunities connected with the data from the ERS to make those decisions in a quality way? For the coaching side, we're adding more coaches and assessor components, the observers, to really support that caseload and high fidelity in how we use the tool. We're also building in more coaching phases. It's important, just like any movement forward, relationships are key. So focusing on our relationships, building a connection with leadership, and then building in that classroom level support. Moving forward, there's a key focus on accessibility to materials, furnishings, and equipment. And when we think about this tool and the data it provides, it's about child-centered experiences. And so how do we use that data to support accessibility in spaces where children are at? Ongoing, we'll continue to have what's called an ambassador group. It's currently filled by current providers and directors, as well as administrators that'll continue to support and navigate the processes and resources that support quality care South Dakota. As we continue on, there's a lot of intersections between the Office of Licensing and Accreditation as well as the SDEC system. So communication with the Office of Licensing and Accreditation is important to understand trends and opportunities. As we talk with programs, we are not licensing, but we are mandated reporters, and everyone needs to be in good standing and meeting the regulations, especially those high risk areas that licensing has. We also have to see something, say something. Our ERS observations, those times we might have peak times that the EC coordinators might be asked to help support with their educators coming in and providing, maybe it's just a certain area, maybe it's interactions or environments, or it could be the whole observation, as well as making sure and ensuring that what we offer has the foundational concepts of the ERS embedded into our professional development. We're going to learn a little bit from Nicole about the Pathways to Professional Development Career Ladder, which is relaunched and revised, as well as how do we support growing leaders? What can we use from those program administration scales and business administration scales to help the feasibility, sustainability of programs, which led to the opportunity for the SDEC resources. This is a hub, and Nicole's going to talk a little more about it, but it has a ton of options and supports for our directors and our classroom teachers. But moving forward, a key component of this is collaboration with our local early childhood enrichment system. The TA that they provide about improving quality is foundational to this opportunity of Quality Care South Dakota. There's a lot of individuals that are wanting support, that are navigating challenges, that may be new in their position, and our collaboration to connect and meet the workforce and the needs that they have is pivotal moving forward. So Quality Care South Dakota opened applications in January of 2025 with emails that went out to all registered and licensed childcare and school age programs. Priority is to support all EC regions with a variety of programs from each area and programs that are serving childcare assistance families. The website, as you see in the chat, has just launched, and in June of 2025, we will begin celebrating program and provider accomplishments as we get rolling with this initiative and the opportunities that it has. The SDEC resources is also going to be in the chat, and members will have a section on there that'll have handouts, posters, resources, all of the information through the Quality Care SD in that resource hub as well. So with that, I'm going to kick it to Nicole, who's going to share a little bit about the SDEC resources launch, as well as the South Dakota Core Knowledge and Competency efforts, and then our relaunch of the South Dakota Pathways to Professional Development.
Okay, as Rachel mentioned, one of the really exciting resources that we were able to provide in this last year is our resource hub. South Dakota EC Resources is a hub that offers a new way for childcare and school age providers in South Dakota to find information to support their businesses and classrooms. And as you can see here, there's many features to this website that help in all areas of childcare or school age businesses. A few of the most used resources at this time that we are seeing our program management area, which has things like sample budgets, employee handbooks, orientation toolkits, also classroom resources. Maybe a teacher goes in and wants to find some information on managing challenging behavior, or something like they want to change up their daily schedule. They can find a sample there, or even some lesson plan samples. Forms, policies, and templates are usually our highest used area. It's really nice. They have everything built out, and people can just pop their business name in and edit whatever they feel that they need to edit to make it appropriate for their center or their home. And it is available at no cost to South Dakota childcare and school age educators who are working in a registered or licensed program. we'll move to our South Dakota core knowledge and competencies for early childhood and school age educators, or just, the CKCs, as we lovingly call them, just because it's a lot shorter. They were created in 2024 by a work group that consisted of a variety of professionals who work in the field of childcare and school age care across South Dakota. The work group also receives support from national consultants. These CKCs were designed to be inclusive of all types of early childhood and early school age care educators in South Dakota. Since our state lacked having a core knowledge and competency, we needed to establish a solid foundation for building quality practices. However, we had to make sure that we could strike a balance between not overcomplicating them and maintaining readability so that the workforce would feel encouraged to explore them and use them in their professional development. We did a little sample in between January and July of 2024. 76% of the individuals taking orientation training, they take this upon entering the workforce, as I think April mentioned, within 90 days of starting employment. 76% reported that they were either currently in high school, working toward their high school diploma or GED, and or have a high school diploma. And so, as mentioned, a large majority of the workforce operates at the high school level. We have a lot of workforce that are currently in high school, so we just wanted to make sure that we kept the wording so it was meaningful to everyone who was reading it. This is a little snapshot from the CKCs. As you see in the colored boxes, those are the 8 areas of knowledge and skills that the document is divided into. The document represents what all educators should know, what they should be able to do and understand. It's also a self-guided and self-reflection is what we call it. So we encourage educators to pick up the document and choose an area that maybe they're most comfortable in or feel they're the strongest in, or maybe somebody would want to start in a place where they know that they could use a little bit more knowledge, and they just go through the document. As you can see in the purple, there's little competencies listed where they would look through and they can check off if that's something that they feel that they put into practice. And as they go through, they just kind of learn what level of practice that they're currently at. And it also helps them see where maybe they have some gaps, which would help them in the future as they plan their professional development needs. This is also within the booklet. This is a planning area. So after the educator has gone through the area of self-reflection, they could flip to the back and they can document where they feel their strengths are, where their areas of improvement are, and any professional plans and goals that they have for themselves. This is also in the CKCs. This is just a little chart that shows how the CKCs, the South Dakota Early Learning Guidelines, and the South Dakota Development and Learning Resources for School Age Programs intertwine. And the South Dakota Development and Learning Resources for School Age Programs is a document within the CKCs. Okay, on to Pathways. So yes, as Rachel said, we were able to revise and relaunch Pathways. Pathways is a program that's been around for quite some time, but we decided it needed a little fresh breath put into it. Sorry, I'm gonna take a drink here real quick. Pathways is a tool for early childhood and school age care educators to explore and guide their professional growth and development. It also serves a way for us to publicly acknowledge these individuals who are committed to ongoing education and enhancing their knowledge and skills. Revisions were made from the original career ladder as some barriers were identified with focus groups, and we wanted to be more inclusive of the current workforce. A couple of the barriers that were noted was the requirement to be a high school graduate. And as we noted earlier, a lot of our workforce are currently in high school right now. Another barrier that was noted was having to join a professional organization. Some people felt that they were having a hard time finding an organization that their beliefs aligned 100%, or maybe they felt like, I want to join that organization, but I don't want to feel forced into it. And also it was identified as a barrier because of the cost to joining some organizations. And then to be more inclusive of the current workforce, as I said, we removed the requirement of being a high school graduate so we could welcome those who are currently in high school. And we wanted to find a way to highlight those educators who have been in the field for many years. So the way we did that was by adding a level for 75 hours of professional development training. So someone who's been in the field for quite a while could hit that level. And I think that's all for that slide. So here's our new image for our career ladder. Looks a lot different than a lot of other states. Feedback from the focus groups was that the linear look is maybe a little bit overwhelming for someone who's starting at the bottom. And if they're looking all the way at the top, they're like, why would I even try? That's a long ways up there, not even going to try it. So putting it as a tree, we wanted to show that it just portrays growth and it shows the path that educators can choose. And each person can decide what path is right for them. And it also shows how every person is important and vital in their position. These are the various levels that are in pathways. Each person who is applying would look at what they currently hold either for professional development or education and decide what level they would apply for. They would upload any documentation just to show that they've taken the amount of hours or that maybe they've obtained a bachelor's degree. And also we need to know that they have CPR training and that they took first aid training and orientation. And as they go through, the certificate is valid for 2 years. So every member has a responsibility to take trainings that relate to the age that they're working with. We put the application to Pathways into Training House as it's fairly easy to manage, and a lot of the members already have used it. This is where they go in to take orientation and some of the other training, so it's fairly familiar to people and not complicated to navigate. With Pathways, we just want to say that we're proud of everyone who's focusing on their professional development. And we also want educators to be proud of the effort that they're putting in as well. So every person who applies and earns their level gets a framed certificate noting the level that they've earned. And they also get a welcome kit, which includes some welcome letters, a children's book with the age of, that would relate to the age of the children that they're working with. And then they get some other little tokens of appreciation as they join our little club that we're hoping to gain here. And I think that's everything on Pathways. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Nicole. There's some great, exciting supports for childcare and school age programs for sure. So all of this information can be found on sdece.org, and we'll pop that website again into the chat feature. But Joe is going to just share some family-focused services that are also found within the ECE system.
Thanks, April. We talked a lot about our services and, our services for childcare providers, but we also do a lot for families in the state. In 2024, the ECE system distributed over 2,000 car seats to families that are on some form of state assistance. And we do that in our ECE offices, but also through many local community partners. So if you hear of a family looking for a car seat, have them reach out to us, even if they're not in one of our 5 office cities. We have community partners in Lemon and on the reservations and just about everywhere. And so they won't have to go too far to get a car seat for their child. Some offices even have child passenger safety technicians that can help install the seats, teach parents really how to go through that and make sure that seat's in correctly. And if they don't have a CPST, they know where to point you to find one. Another thing we do for parents and families is parenting classes. We have 2 primary parenting class series, Understanding Me up to age 3. which is a series for brand new parents or parents of really young children. And we have responsive parenting for parents with older children. These are opportunities that are open to the public across the state. We also offer them in specific programs, like in Sioux Falls, they partner with the Joe Foss Alternative School. Here in Rapid City, we partner with Full Circle, which is a substance abuse treatment program for pregnant and parenting women. We'll offer those parenting classes in those programs. And then we also help families find childcare. And so we've partnered with the 211 helpline to do this. Call 211, they can get you started. We also have some online platforms to help you search for childcare. And so I don't think I put it in the slide, but families.helplinecenter.org will get those families started on finding childcare. And if you can't remember the website, just call 211. Like I said, they'll get them started. And so a great resource for families as well. And then we'll also connect families, you know, to other resources in the community that exist. If they call and are having certain problems that we don't necessarily help a parent with, we can connect them with the resources that we know about. And we know about quite a few. We've been doing this a long time and know almost everyone in the field. So if they're finding themselves needing a little extra help from a community resource, we can put them in touch.
That's great. Thanks, Joe. So this slide highlights our South Dakota ECE Systems strategic plan. We spent time in 2022 and 2023 developing a strategic plan to support our systems efforts through the year of 2026. So this slide right here is going to show you our key focus areas. With approaching the strategic plan, our guiding principles were to provide our ECE teams and our ECE offices with the tools to improve the quality of care in South Dakota. And so providing practical resources and supports that impact the programs that each of our ECE offices serves. And through that, we're developing a systematic approach to addressing the child care program needs and leading quality initiatives for childcare in the state. Also working to collaborate with others in the field with clarity and responding to the needs of the field proactively and provide improvement through prevention. And so you can see on the slide kind of those key areas of our strategic plan to include access to state licensed and registered childcare for families in our state. Also to include a consumer education component where we're looking to see what tools and supports can elevate the field of childcare and youth development. We also have a discussion and a goal to support our workforce, those that are caring for our children in childcare and school age programs. Also moving on to improving quality and talking about those different professional development systems and aligning with special initiatives. And also taking into consideration developing tools and technology and how do we can utilize data to improve administrative efficiency and support our decision making as a system and while enhancing those family and provider experiences. And then in addition to those other topics, we're also addressing our system infrastructure here within the ECE system. And that goal is that we develop a clear and aligned infrastructure with our regional and our state supports. And so like many childcare and school age programs, we too are in constant change, which requires us to complete continuous quality improvements like Rachel addressed earlier and went through. And so this ECE strategic plan for the system, it is going to help strengthen and articulate our plans for the future as we continue to provide those high quality services and supports. With the strategic plan for the ECE system, we do remain committed to our child care programs and school age educators, and we do our due diligence in providing services and supports to meet our stakeholders' needs. You can see here a photo from our 2024 all-staff meeting. So this represents all 5 regions, and we're here to support childcare and school age programs, parents, and communities. Again, we just want to remind people to reach out and let us know how we can further support you. And this ends our presentation. we are happy to open it up to anyone who has questions, or if there's still questions in the chat that haven't been addressed. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. And remember again, if you guys have any questions, you can come off mute and ask them or add them into the chat. I had asked a couple of questions along the way. As far as the pilot program goes, the quality matters. The one thing I was going to ask about that was, can now any provider become involved with that process?
So Kayla, all registered and licensed providers can apply, yes, and we continue to have applications coming in. We have an amount that we're allowed to serve based on capacity of coaches and assessors. And so those that don't get in will get waitlisted or have been waitlisted. We're navigating through that process on a daily basis. But know that if there is interest, please apply, and it is still open as an opportunity, and it helps us gauge what the desire is from the field. So please submit an application of interest if you're interested in that support system.
Wonderful. Thank you. We had a question in the chat that says, how do you apply? I would assume you go to that website. Maybe I'll let you take the rest of that, Rachel.
Yeah, absolutely. So all registered and licensed childcare providers received an email from Department of Social Services. It was in January, specifically inviting them to participate in this opportunity. And so Ashley, if you want to reach out, I'll put our email address. Nicole will pop that in the chat. You can email us and we'll get you that link, but you can refer to kind of those automated DSS emails that come out with updates from, oh, licensing has a new system, to, hey, you can apply for Quality Care South Dakota. So it is in that email chain, but we're happy to follow up with you. Ashley, if you'll pop your email in the chat, or Nicole can put our general email in, you can email us.
Great, thank you. And if so, we've had a couple of communities ask for like business plans if they're helping to support a child care provider. Is there anyone who can, is the resource hub open to anyone outside of being registered or licensed? So like if they're trying to prepare to open a facility, or do you need to be registered and licensed first?
Those inquiries can go to our general email here, sdsu.sdqrs@sdstate. If you're supporting a program and you can show us where you're working with your licensing specialist and your intention, but the dollars that fund that are from that Child Care Development Block Grant, which is specific to the individuals meeting the federal mandated standards of being registered and licensed. And so it isn't an open, we have to pay per person, or we have a subscription process, which is why it is a little locked down. I don't know if that's the right way to say it. It does require a membership. Does that. And so we want to navigate entry to that so that it connects to registered and licensed programs for our data reporting. And so, yeah, if you're supporting like an inquiry, let us know that information. We'll connect and double check with our licensors and get you in.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I would say, you guys, the resource hub is just filled with amazing resources. And it is, if you're a licensed registered provider, I highly, highly recommend it. Or just simply reaching out to any one of these professionals here that we're speaking today. The enrichment centers, like I mentioned in the beginning, provide such an amazing asset. One thing Rachel mentioned this a couple of times, but we've been on calls, and before some of you, and I've had another comment in the chat, but just remembering that early childhood is definitely complicated in South Dakota. And so these dollars are coming from the federal level. And so that's why there are different types of regulations on these compared to if a program is offering a training that comes from a grant or something like that. So remembering that these are federal dollars, and then all of your programs are, some of your programs have different offerings that come from private dollars too. Is that right? Or maybe I'm speaking out of turn there.
So yeah, an example of that would be in Region 1, their collaboration was starting strong, and that ability, yes, where they have an opportunity in their community to expand. In Region 5, we have some opportunities with United Way, I believe, Nikki, on temperament and some parenting components with the parenting navigators. So each region of the EC system might have branches that go out from what we shared today. And so if you are in one of these EC regions, the best way is to reach out to the coordinator listed in the chat, the contact information, and just ask about resources and supports that are offered in your area to learn more about the individual items beyond what we shared today, because there's a lot of great things happening across the state. Yes.
Yes, they are your official go-to resource providers here, folks. So make sure to reach out to your local enrichment office. They're an amazing resource. I'm not seeing any additional comments, questions coming in through the chat. So with that, I would like to extend another very warm thank you to all of you so much for being here today, and taking this hour and a half out of your day to be here with us. Again, we will put this recording on to the Early Learner South Dakota YouTube page, so you are welcome to share it out to any of your other providers within your area, community resource offices, that type of thing. But I want to say thank you so much from us here at Early Learner South Dakota. And do you guys have any other closing comments? All right.
Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, and reach out with questions.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone, for attending, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk to you later.